Hi, I'm Elisa Gianancelli and I'm an educational consultant from Edgware in North London. And today my YouTube is going to be on creative writing. I'm going to hold some sheets up, but you will see these in more detail on the screen. But I will just introduce you to each sheet that's important as I'm speaking. Okay, so story writing. This is a problem area. So many parents come to me and say, my child cannot write a story. She's got no imagination. She cannot start a story. She doesn't know what to put in it. Firstly, I say to those parents, has your child read? And they will say no. Have you read to your child? No. It's very, very important your children read books from a very early age. If you've got an 18-month-old or a 1-year-old, read to them in bed. They start to take in that vocabulary, they start to take in those storylines from a very early age, and it does make a massive difference to story writing. Story writing isn't as difficult as we think. If you are a reader and you've got an imagination because of that, then it becomes a piece of cake. It also takes a lot of careful planning, and that's the practice area we need to work on. And I have a book called Mind Maps, which I will be dealing with you in more detail in a future YouTube. So that shows children how to plan. But I use various plans myself in my school, and this is an introductory creative writing sheet where we break things down into different areas, and the children actually write on this sheet and on the front and back and make their plan, and it really, really does help. So let's get back to story writing as a massive topic. And here we go. This is my big sheet on story writing, and it gives you lots and lots of different aspects to story writing that you need to use and think about. So in this case, we've got 3 stories the children can choose from. That applies to your children too. The Blue Vase, The Magic Jug, and The Spooky House are our choices. With all my stories in Elisa's tutorial school, I get my children to close their eyes for a few minutes and get the subject matter in their head. Now, the spooky house, it could be on a hill, it could be in a valley, and those are written on this sheet under the section of setting. Or it could be at the top of a mountain. It could be in any shape or form. It could be a chalet, it could be a 3-story building, or it could be a castle. The title is The Spooky House, but you can adapt that title to whatever you want. Another popular topic in our school is a monster story, and when we close our eyes, we examine the subject very easily through our 5 senses. So we think on what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, and what we feel, and what the monster does. So the monster might smell terribly, live in a cave, eat teachers for breakfast, or he might be like Captain Two Heads in my Frankie series, which is on Amazon, by the way. And Captain Two Heads has got 2 heads, and they're both very angry and ugly looking. And he's a massive, massive monster who lives in a tree house. So these ideas come to children through their thought process, through their creativity, through their planning. And so once the planning stage is over, we can talk about starting the story. And I have some firm rules that they follow here in Elisa's tutorial school, which makes story writing much, much easier to use and to get used to. So we have 3 paragraphs. Firstly, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Let's deal with the beginning first. With the beginning, I always tell my children to start with the weather, because that sets the scene, and we find out immediately what time of year it is, what time of day it is, and I have some examples on this sheet. For example, The dew covered the leaves as the sun ventured out. Well, that's going to be extreme early morning. It was blowing a gale is another possibility. I looked out of my window and saw thick snow on the ground, obviously winter. A sunny day in July, a grey, cold autumnal day. So here we have a range of sentences for the weather. Then in that same beginning paragraph, we go on to the setting. So if it's a spooky house, for example, the house on the hill, or in the valley below, or at the top of the mountain. Within that beginning, I feel that children should introduce their characters. And we always have a goodie and a baddie in our stories because that gives the story structure. And of course, the people that are involved in the story, either the narrator, which is your daughter or son, or your child and a friend, or you could be part of the story also if your child includes the family. And I have a very popular story called The Sea People, and that one always involves the family. All the family end up in a submarine at the bottom of the sea, and the children find it quite amusing. Okay, let's go to the middle now. So to break things up a little easier, I have another sheet here which establishes beginning, middle, and beginning and the middle, and what I've just said about weather, setting, and the characters. And here we have the middle, which is a very, very important part of the story. And this is the adventure, of course. And if we take this little sheet as well, we will see how the genre, action, and climax develops depending on your choice of area for the adventure. It could be magic, romance, fantasy, school days, or mystery. So other decisions your children will have to make are, is it inside, is it outside, is it happy, is it sad, is it scary, or is it exciting? And the weather and the setting always have a very big influence on those choices. So that's the beginning, middle, and end. With the end of the story, we encourage our children to move into what happens as a result of the action in the middle, because we have to interlink, and the action in the middle is extremely important. So here we have possibilities: a problem solved, a new friendship, start of another adventure, or a lesson learned. And they make up the fundamentals of the story. So beginning, middle, and end. As I said, as they get older, we develop the technique of 5 paragraphs, where 1 and 2 is, and some children will take it to another level. So that's 5 paragraphs, we'll have 7 paragraphs, and some will go to 9. We always have an odd number here at Elise's tutorial school. But our little ones stick with just beginning, middle, and end, as it's more easy to navigate a story. Here I have an example story from one of my children. She's 6 years old, and you can see she's planned her story here, and she's written it here, and she's done a really good job, I must say. And I will read you a tiny bit of it, The Magic Castle. And you will see that she actually drew the castle, and this is what I ask my children to do, as well as imagine, close their eyes and imagine. Then we always draw a picture. It really enhances creative writing and gives lots of detail. But here she writes, in a faraway magical land, there was a hidden castle that stood tall in a magic forest. The 2 girls named Olivia and Ella decided to go explore that magical forest and learn all about it. The forest is magical because if you step on a leaf that is on the ground, you will end up inside your thoughts. And it's all about thoughts here, which is quite a complex area for a 6-year-old, but she's made the story amazing. And the children's thoughts direct their storyline and what happens to them in the story. We have lots of different ways of doing stories in my school, and one of them is for me to write a beginning, and the children then continue with the story from that. And the spooky house is one example, and I've done a beginning here I'm going to read you now. On the darkest day of winter, December the 21st in fact, which some people refer to as the winter solstice, some strange things happened. I woke up extremely early. It could have been the thunderstorm outside that disturbed me. Going to my window, the lightning crashed through the sky, sending a shiver down my spine. Even though the rain was torrential, I felt the need to go out into the garden. We had great fun with this in my class. A feeling of anticipation is given at the beginning of that paragraph, and then of course the plot will thicken as you, the child, goes into the garden and deals with all that torrential rain and whatever is going to happen next, which will be influenced very much from the plan that they will have made earlier and I told you about. So they'll be taking the steps of adventure, magic, romance, fantasy, school days, and of course a problem solved, a new friendship, start of another adventure, and a lesson learned will be the outcomes. I hope you've enjoyed this YouTube as much as I've enjoyed making it. I'm very new to YouTubes, and so thank you for joining me on this journey, and I would love to hear from you as to whether you find them useful, whether you want them on specific topics, and I will be speaking to you a lot more in the future. Thank you, good evening, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.